Welcome to the Science of Hockey, the podcast where we break down the science behind ice hockey. I'm the analyst, your host, and every week we explore the data, research, and evidence that shape how we play, train, and understand the game of hockey. From biomechanics to performance psychology, we take you beyond the rink and into the research lab, giving you insights that go beyond hearsay and into what really makes the difference on the ice. Whether you're a player, a coach, a parent, or just someone passionate about the sport, we're here to bring you scientifically backed information in a language that's friendly and easy to understand. So grab your skates and let's dive into the science of hockey. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Science of Hockey. I'm the analyst, and today we're going to dive into an insightful study that explores the fascinating connection between physical attributes and on-ice performance in young hockey players. We'll be talking about an article titled Elite Adolescent Ice Hockey Players, analyzing associations between anthropometry, fitness, and on-ice performance, published in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health. In this episode, we'll break down how characteristics like body mass and height impact the performance of young athletes during the selection process. We'll explore what these findings mean for talent identification and the role of physical fitness in player evaluation. Whether you're a player, coach, or parent, there's a lot to learn about how these factors contribute to success on the ice. So, grab your skates and let's get started.
Okay, so everyone says that in hockey size matters, right? But is that actually true? Today, we're going to find out. We're diving into a study that really challenges that idea.
Yeah, and it's super cool because they actually looked at all these different factors to try and figure out like how height and weight actually affect young hockey players. It's not just bigger is better, like a lot of people think.
So these researchers followed almost 200 players, and they weren't just any hockey players. They were like the elite.
Yeah, top-tier adolescents from Quebec.
Wow, so like future Team Canada hopefuls.
Exactly. And the researchers tracked everything. Like they looked at height, weight, off-ice fitness, like jumping grip strength. And they even went as far as looking at on-ice agility and game performance.
Yeah, you know, like how they actually did in games? That's really interesting.
And that's what's so valuable about this. They use all this data to give us a more complete picture of what's going on.
Okay, so can you give us like a bit of an overview of who was in this study and like what they were doing?
Okay, so imagine you have 80 male players and 107 female players.
Yep.
And they're all kind of at that age where they're hitting those big growth spurts.
Yeah.
So they're all around the same age. And remember, these aren't just kids playing hockey for fun. These are the best of the best from Quebec, all trying to make the provincial team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So like really high stakes.
Totally. And you mentioned growth spurts. So, the researchers actually followed them through 2 selection camps.
Okay.
5 months apart. And get this, between those camps, the male players got way taller and heavier. Classic teenage boy growth spurt, right?
Yeah, totally.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
The female players only got a little bit taller, and their weight pretty much stayed the same.
Interesting. Why do you think that is?
Well, the researchers think it could be because the female players were already like more physically mature than the boys at the beginning of the study.
So like because they were already at such a high level,
right?
The ones who weren't physically mature enough, they might have gotten cut earlier?
Exactly. So it's like they were already the best of the best physically.
Yeah.
So the big question is,
Yeah.
did that size difference actually mean they performed better?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? Like, does being bigger actually make you better on the ice?
Well, let's see.
What did they find?
So first they looked at off-ice stuff,
Okay.
like jumping and grip strength.
Yeah.
And in the first camp, the taller, heavier male players did better in those tests.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, more muscle usually means more power.
Right. But now here's the twist.
Uh-oh. I like twists. What happened?
The heavier female players actually did worse in a lot of the off-ice tests.
Really?
Yeah. Like things like jumps, sprints, even aerobic capacity.
That's so weird. I would have thought being bigger would always help.
You would think. Right. But the researchers have a theory.
Okay, what is it?
They think for female players at that age, body mass might be more about body fat than muscle.
Oh, that makes sense.
So it might actually be slowing them down.
So it's not just about being bigger, it's about what that size is made of.
Exactly. So you got to have the right kind of size for hockey. But what happens when we actually put these players on the ice?
Yeah, right. Like, surely size matters when you're skating and handling the puck.
Well, the results are actually really interesting.
Okay, tell me everything.
All right, so in that first camp, the taller and heavier male players were actually less agile on the ice.
What? Seriously?
Yeah,
That's wild. You'd think those long limbs would make them better skaters.
you would think that, right?
What about the women? What happened with them?
Similar thing. The heavier female players were slower when they were accelerating and sprinting. But here's where it gets really interesting.
I'm listening.
By the time they got to the second camp, remember this is after they cut some of the players,
Yeah.
the relationship between size and on-ice performance was less clear.
So it's like maybe size helps you at the beginning,
Yeah,
but then once you're at the top, other things become more important.
exactly. And here's another interesting thing. When they looked at the female players, they found that the taller players were actually more agile.
Wait, what? More agile.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive, right?
Totally. You'd think they'd be clumsier with those long limbs.
Right. But they weren't.
Why do you think that is?
Honestly, the study didn't really explain it. It's one of those things that just makes you ask more questions.
Like, now we need a whole other study just to figure out why those taller women are better skaters.
Exactly. Like, are they using their height in a different way? Or is it something about their technique?
It's fascinating.
It is.
So we talked about off-ice fitness and on-ice agility, but what about like actual game performance? Did they look at goals, assists, all that stuff?
It did. And this is where it gets really weird.
Yeah.
The only thing that was clearly related to size was shot blocking. And only for the male players.
Shot blocking. Interesting. So were the bigger guys better at it?
Nope. The heavier players blocked fewer shots.
No way. You're kidding?
I'm serious.
That doesn't make any sense. You'd think a bigger body would be better at blocking the puck.
Right. But the study didn't really have an explanation for this. It's a total mystery.
So we're missing some pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me summarize. It sounds like size does matter at first, especially off ice. But as you get better, other things become more important. And in actual games, size doesn't really matter except for that weird shot blocking thing. Did I get it?
Yeah, you got it.
So basically, there's more to hockey than just being big and strong.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to talk about next.
Oh, okay. I can't wait.
Tell me more.
Let's do it. It's like you see these players, and they might not be the biggest guys out there,
Right.
but they just have this sense of where to be, you know? They're always making these smart plays like they can see the future or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like that hockey IQ. It's like they can anticipate what's going to happen before it even happens.
And that's what the researchers are saying, too. Like, as players get better, those other skills, like their game intelligence, technical skills, decision-making, all that stuff,
Yeah.
it becomes way more important than just being big. So it's not just about having the size.
No.
It's about knowing how to use it.
Exactly. You got to be able to read the play, you know?
Yeah.
Think ahead of your opponent.
And this actually reminds me of something the researchers talked about in another paper.
Oh, yeah? What that?
They found that those kind of intangible skills, they play a huge role when it comes to picking players for the team.
Like those mental aspects.
Yeah. So maybe size gets you in the door, but it's the mental game that really makes you a star.
Right. Which makes sense when you think about it.
Totally. Hockey is such a fast sport.
Yeah.
You have to make decisions so quickly. You have to be able to adapt.
And all those things you can learn.
Yeah.
It's not just about how tall you are or what your genes are.
That's actually really cool. So even if you're not the biggest kid out there, you can still make it if you work hard and think smart.
And if you have people around you who encourage that, like coaches, parents, mentors, everyone plays a role.
Totally. It's about pushing those players to be their best and helping them see those opportunities to grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we talked about size, we talked about agility, but what about like the things that really matter in a game?
Right.
Like goals and assists. Did they look at that?
Oh, that's a good question. Did they?
Yeah, they did. And guess what?
What?
Size didn't really matter that much for things like goals and assists, which is interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Like you would think being bigger would help you score more goals or something.
Right. What about assists?
Same thing. Size didn't make much of a difference.
It's almost like once you get to that elite level, everyone is just so good that size doesn't matter as much.
Right. And it makes you wonder, like, what are those other factors that separate the best from the rest?
Yeah, what is it that makes some players just shine?
Maybe it's that extra bit of creativity or that ability to stay calm under pressure.
Yeah, could be.
It's really fascinating.
So what would you say is the big takeaway here? Like for all those young players, coaches, parents out there who are listening?
Don't just focus on size. Look for those other qualities. Look for the players who are hungry to learn, who are willing to work hard.
Who love the game.
Exactly.
Sure.
Because those are the players who are going to go far.
That's a great message. I love it. And for anyone who wants to read the actual study,
Yeah.
we'll put the link in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Yeah, it's about more than just being big and strong.
Right. It's about using your brain.
Exactly, like strategy and game sense. That stuff matters.
And the study actually found that as players get older, those things become even more important.
Interesting.
Like, it's almost like being big helps you when you're younger.
Yeah.
But to really make it to the top,
Yeah.
you need those mental skills.
Which makes sense, right? Hockey is such a complex game.
Totally. It's not just about skating fast.
Right.
You got to be able to make decisions under pressure.
And anticipate what's going to happen.
Exactly. And that's what separates the good players from the great players.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that you can actually learn those skills.
Right. It's not just about genetics or whatever.
Yeah.
You can train your brain to think like a hockey player.
That's so encouraging for all those younger players out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're not the biggest kid,
Yeah.
if you work hard and you're smart about the game.
You can still succeed.
Exactly. And that's where coaches and parents come in too, right?
Yeah.
It's their job to help these kids develop those mental skills.
So it's not just about teaching them how to shoot and skate.
Right.
You got to teach them how to think the game.
Totally. And how to deal with the pressure.
Yeah.
Because hockey can be a really intense sport.
So what would you say is like the biggest takeaway from all this?
I think the study shows us that we need to look beyond just size when we're evaluating players.
Yeah.
We need to look for those kids who have the potential,
Yeah.
who are willing to learn, and who have that drive to get better.
So basically, we need to focus on the whole player,
Exactly.
not just their physical attributes.
And that's something we can all do. Whether you're a coach, a scout, a parent,
Yeah.
we can all help these kids reach their full potential.
That's a great message. And it's not just about hockey either.
No, it's about life in general.
Like, if you want to succeed in anything, you need more than just talent.
Right. You need that work ethic,
Yeah.
that resilience, that ability to overcome challenges.
That's so true.
And that's what makes this study so fascinating.
It's not just about hockey. It's about understanding what it takes to be successful.
And how we can all help each other get there.
That's awesome. Well, this has been such a great conversation.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I learned a lot.
You too.
And for anyone who wants to read the actual study,
Yeah.
you can find the link in the show notes.
Definitely check it out.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Thanks for tuning in to the Science of Hockey. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share it with your friends, teammates, or anyone who loves hockey as much as you do. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment to let us know what you liked, what you'd like to hear next, or any questions you have. Your feedback helps us make the show even better. Until next time, keep your skates sharp, your mind open, and keep chasing the science behind the game.